right, you all, welcome back to the 12th edition of Season 2 of the Diggie A2 podcast. First off, I just want to give a shout out once again, as we do every week, to all of our followers, supporters, and fans that are listening, watching all over the world. We're closing out Season 2, so I'm getting kind of sad a little bit. But everything going on right now with just in the world, I mean, like, we got COVID going on, and a lot of times I'll be thinking about, like, man, everything that I don't have, but we have so much, and I just want to make sure that I'm thankful for that, thankful for my wife and my health and my kids and this platform and other fans that love hip hop just as much as I do. So I just want to give a quick thanks to everybody, and want to pass the mic to the Queen first. Queen, what you got for the people this week?
The same. Just thank you for everyone out there supporting, subscribing, tuning in, listening, reaching out, really building a movement together, and which is really unity. So going back just to the vision statement, everyone can shine and succeed together. So I'm thankful for everyone who is supporting us on this journey.
All right. Well, this week we are actually talking about the second coming of Rakim, one of the greatest of all time, top 5 dead or alive. We're talking about Nasir Jones, aka Nas, this week, and we have a very, very special guest that I want to bring to you all to meet. She is a radio personality out of Hot 107.9 in Atlanta, Georgia. She has a long history in radio, and she has given us the blessing of coming onto our platform today, and her name is KSamone, and we're going to bring her in. So, KSamone, how are you? Good evening, and say hello to the people for us.
Hey, it's a blessing to be on your platform, first and foremost. Thank you.
Like that hoodie you got on too. I wonder where you got that hoodie from.
I know. I wonder where I got the hoodie from. Nah, this is amazing, man. I enjoy it. I got it paired with my Bel Air 5s right now because of the color on the back. You know,
that's what's up. That's what's up. Well, we're excited to have you on. I mean, nothing but blessings for you coming on with us. Like, it is just giving us so much excitement, and we've been waiting to meet you. So thank you for this, and thank you for being on the podcast with us this week. The person that we are showcasing is one of the greats. We're talking about Nas, and Nas has done so much for hip hop. It is unreal. So I'm gonna go down a couple of his accolades, talk about some of the things with Nas within the time period. So as you all can see here, we're going to roll down some accolades real quick. Real name is Nasir bin Alu Dada Jones. Actually, Nas was introduced to the world on a 1991 verse from the Main Source album. Actually, the Main Source song called Live at the Barbecue. He gets on there and he says, "When I was 12, I went to hell for snuffing Jesus." So that verse right there caught the ear of MC Search from Third Base. So MC Search was like, yo, like, who was this kid that said this about snuffing Jesus? And he reached out to him. He got him his own record deal with Columbia Records. He put him on a song on a soundtrack called Zebrahead, called Back to the Grill Again. Nas kills that too. And then that's what led Nas to get his first album deal with Columbia. And unfortunately, you all, Nas does not have a lot of awards to speak of. So he only has, from what I gathered up, 2 hip-hop awards from BET, from some things that I saw from digging up for Nas. So not much in his award trophy. And another thing that alarmed me that I looked up this week was, last week we talked about Snoop Dogg having 17 Grammy nominations without a win. Nas has 15 Grammy nominations without a win. So I don't understand hip hop or Grammys or whoever the body of music is, how 2 of our greatest MCs in our generation does not have a Grammy award in their trophy case. We're talking about Nas, one of the best lyricists of all time, does not have a Grammy. Come on, man. We got to do better. We got to do better. But one of the things that we're going to focus on during this time period of the shift was the date of 19 April 1994 was when Illmatic dropped on the world. So the reason why this is so significant, and to a lot of hip-hop columnists, a lot of hip-hop heads, a lot of people that love hip-hop, recognized as Illmatic as the greatest hip hop album of all time. 39 minutes and 51 seconds it's a really short album, but he crammed a lot of stuff within that short amount of time if you all go back and listen to it. So we're going to dive into that conversation here in a little bit. But as a rite of passage, KSamone, for every new artist that is on the Diggie A2 platform, you get to tell the world when or how did you fall in love with hip hop? What is your story?
When did I fall in love with hip hop? Man, I don't know. I honestly cannot tell you that answer. Because you know what? My first CD I ever listened to, my first CD I ever had was Bow Wow's Beware the Dog.
Okay.
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I honestly don't know. I even asked that question. That's I watch Brown Sugar, and that's Sydney Shaw's question, right? When did you fall in love with hip hop? So every time Brown Sugar is actually one of my favorites. So every time I watch the movie, I'm like, dang, when did I fall in love with hip hop? So I honestly, dang, I truly cannot say for sure. I can say that one of the first songs when I actually started listening to songs and being able to listen to the concepts of the metaphors that was played along with those was Jay-Z's what song? Excuse Me, Miss.
Okay.
That was one of the first songs that made me want to say, let me listen to these songs and start breaking down these bars and these lyrics. And then from there, and I think what line was it? It was the red or green pill, you live and you learn, when he broke that whole line down.
Yeah.
And I think I was like, what do you mean red and green pill? Well, I had never seen The Matrix, so I didn't know what he was talking about.
Yeah.
I had never seen The Matrix a day in my life. So I said that was when I first started paying attention to music. And then from there, I would say I sat once again. Brown Sugar was one of my favorite movies. So Common Sense, I Used to Love Her. Went to go listen to that, see what they're talking about. And then I'm like, dang, I actually like this. The whole song, he talking about hip hop. That's so cool. Then after that, I would sit in the car and listen to Keith Murray, Candy Bar.
Yeah.
As he made his comparisons from a woman to of a woman being compared to a candy bar.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so dope the way that he just did it. It was amazing, and I still listen to that song to this day. And another one, let me say this, let me also rewind that. Fabulous also played a part too, because Fabulous first record that came out mainstream was I can't think of it.
I Can't Deny It. Yeah.
I Can't Deny It. And the line that stuck out to me till this day, when the time's right, I'm gonna put your mind right. No. When the time's
to the left side of your head, push your mind right. Yeah.
Left side of your head and push your mind right.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, oh, did you catch that? That was Did you catch that? Oh, he said, when the time's right, I'm going to put this nine right to the left side of your head and push your mind right. Did you hear that?
Yeah, man, that's, but you know what though? That's the effect that hip hop has on you, right? It has an effect on you. And when you start, to your point, when you start becoming a listener of hip hop, not when you hear the music, but when you start listening to hip hop, it changes your whole perspective, and it gives you a whole newfound love for the culture when you start to listen to it. So it's one thing where you have a hot song and anybody say some slick stuff or whatever, but when you start to really listen to it, that's when you start having newfound appreciation for it. And what I would tell you is, between the difference between a listener and a hearer and a listener, Illmatic will make you do that also. So when you talk about Illmatic, some of the metaphors, some of the scenery, some of the things that Nas says. And what makes it crazy is when Illmatic first came out, it only sold maybe 1 million copies. So it wasn't like a big pop success like Doggy Style, like we talked about last week, where it sold all these millions of albums. So people didn't really appreciate Nas by buying it, but the hip hop world knew oh shoot, this is something special. So the Source went right on the head. They got to the board meeting. they said, yo, we're going to give it 5. And they're like, what? We're going to give it 5 mics. So the Illmatic got 5 mics from the Source magazine. And that is one of the reasons why I think that, you know, it's, you know, when you have like great albums, you have okay albums, you have superior albums, Illmatic is in a class by itself. I don't think there is another hip hop album that is in the class of Illmatic. It's in a class by itself. There's elite albums out there, you know, Stankonia from Outkast is one, Jay-Z's Reasonable Doubt, the score from the Fugees. There's some great albums out there, but when you talk about Illmatic, there's levels to it. And I think Nas, that Illmatic is on a way another level. The kid was only 20 years old writing these rhymes, and it's just crazy. It makes you break down and think about everything that's going on in New York City in 1994. It just takes you right back to that. When you hear the actual album start off, it starts off with the train going by. There's a break scene from Wild Style, which is the very first hip hop movie produced in 1982. There's a scene in there, and he's like, "Yo, what are you doing with your life, man? Like, what are you doing?" And he's like, "Yo, I'm doing this." And then it breaks into, in the background, you hear Nas breaking down Live at the Barbecue, and it's like he's pretty much depicting like, I'm choosing this life instead of the normal life. This is what I want to do. This is what I've chosen, and that's how the album starts, and it's masterful. So that's going to bring me to my first question for the Queen. All right, so let's get into our discussion. Thank you again, KSamone, for spending time with us this evening. The very first question is coming to the Queen, and off of Illmatic, babe, what is your favorite track and why?
So my favorite track would be It Ain't Hard to Tell. So I'm gonna give away my age a little bit. I was 16 years old.
I think we were 16.
Okay, we were.
Yeah, we were.
I was in New York though.
Okay.
I
was in Atlanta. I got you.
I was 16 years old, living in Brooklyn, New York, in Marlboro Projects, and he's from Queensbridge Houses, which is in Queens. And people, you know, if they don't know much about New York, they have that tendency to think, you know, Brooklyn against Queens and so forth. And it really wasn't like that. But to get to that point, my favorite song is It Ain't Hard to Tell, because he's in the middle of that song. And what I mean by that, I mean he is lyrically depicting Queensbridge housing verbally and visually for the people who are hearing him. So he's literally, his first album, and as he says, you know, he wants people to hear it. He wants people to know him. He wants people to know where he's coming from. And at that time, there was, you know, you had the crack epidemic, and, you know, there was so much going on. And I sat back today, and I mean, I listened to the whole song. And as I told my husband, I phased out for a whole hour. A whole hour.
It'll make you do that, yo.
Because it just took me back, because I said those words. You know what I mean? I knew now, being older and wiser, telling myself, damn, Jessica, yo, you said that. You know what I mean? When you was young. And you said that to your boys. You knew what slang was. You knew.
Right.
So to me, that's my favorite, really my favorite track. All of them are good.
Yeah.
No doubt, bottom line. But all of them are good for the simple fact that that just was a big thing for me. And he's known for it in Harvard University.
Yeah, there's a when you think about Nas and think about the poetry, so like the street, like calls himself the street disciple, right? So he's from the street and he's rapping, but when you listen to it, it's like poetry. Like I can't even really explain to people unless you hear it for yourself. But I love It Ain't Hard to Tell. I mean, I kick skills like Shaquille holds a pill. Vocabulary skills, I'm ill plus matic. Like what in the, like what like. Like who is thinking about this stuff? And mind you, like Nas didn't graduate high school.
Yep.
He doesn't have a college degree, so this kid's vocabulary is off the charts, and that's why a lot of people consider him the second coming of Rakim. Rakim, the greatest lyricist of all time, and they were like, this kid from Queensbridge has got something here, and his vocabulary is immensely deep, and he just pictures what New York in that time is like, you know. So, so with that in mind, KSamone, same question to you. I'm sure you went back and listened to Illmatic this week. What is your opinion of the album, and what is your favorite track from the album?
I think the album, I'm gonna start with your first question. What do I think about the album overall? I think the album overall is just a piece of work. Like, it's just a master of art, like, to be honest. Because like you said in the beginning, he takes us on this journey. But not only that, outside of him taking on this journey, when I listen to the album, right? So mind you, let's start here. When Illmatic came out, I was only 2.
Hey, let's supposed to put our ages out there.
When Illmatic came out, I was just 2 years old. So of course, I had to go back and listen to the album. That's just what it is.
Yeah.
But listening to the album, I was able to say, okay, growing up, like how you really didn't know in my era, because like I said, when I grew up on Nas, Uchi Wally Wally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was the song, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was the song. Uchi Wally Wally was it, you know? So I knew Nas was a lyricist. If I Rule the World, of course, was also a fave with him and Lauryn Hill. So listening to the album, I did not realize how influential Nas was based on the songs that I heard.
Yeah.
Now listening to the album, I was like, oh snap. This song was on Streets Volume 2 on the PlayStation, because that was one of my favorite games on the PlayStation. And I was like, this was the opening song right here. I was able to say, dang, okay, I see where a lot of artists that I actually like for the instance, Game, on his Dreams record, he was like, sleep is the cousin of death. That was one of Nas's lyrics. I understood where the beef between Nas and Jay-Z happened. So it was like, oh, okay, this is a historical album right here. Yes. Because all the things that I grew up on and grew up knowing, and how we got to an Illmatic not Illmatic, but how we got to an Ether started with Illmatic. Right. You know what I'm saying? So I would say, like, this was a great piece of work for it to still be relevant to this day. And it almost made me upset, like, damn, why am I just hopping on this? Like, I'm crazy, you know, for just getting on it. But hey, you know, it's never too late to learn.
Right.
Yeah. Now, what's my favorite song on the record or on the album? I would say two songs. Okay. New York State of Mind is definitely one of my faves. When I listen to New York State of Mind, taking myself out of the equation that I do have friends from New York. I've been in New York, walking around New York. But let's just say, this is 1994. I don't know nothing about New York. You know what I'm saying? Before I met my friends in New York, before I actually started going to New York by myself, moving around, getting to know the city, he told the story of what to expect in his neighborhood. He told a story that made you feel like you were there.
Yeah.
Yeah. He told his story, and through his story, you could feel and see and visualize what his everyday upbringing was. Yep. So I love New York State of Mind, because I love to listen to an artist that can put you in the arena of storytelling, and based on the way he tells the story, you feel like you're living it. Yep. Or you if you don't feel like you living it, you can resonate with it. Yeah. Right. And then if you can't resonate with it, then you understand it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say that. And then I appreciate One Love. I love One Love because once again, the art of storytelling. And the way that he told a story, he was talking to his best friend who chose a different lifestyle outside of him. And it's just like being able, once again, to visualize and being able to put yourself in that shoes, like put yourself in the shoes, like, okay, I know a couple friends that I still love to this day, but we're not on the same page. So right. We chose the two different lanes. So this is me talking to you, telling you this is what's going on. Let me catch you up with everything that's happened since you chose this life and you not really out in the streets no more. You locked up. Now we all know somebody that's locked up that we cool with. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that story, him having that story, and I felt that was like, this is Nas before mainstream. Like, this is still Nasir. That's what that song represented to me.
Yeah, no doubt. That's my favorite as well, because of the storytelling. We've had, so shout out to William James Boyd when he watched this episode, a huge, long time guest on our platform, and he said on the show this season that the New York State of Mind is the perfect hip hop song. The
Yes, he
perfect
did.
singular one. The best hip hop song he'd ever heard was New York State of Mind. So that just resonates with, and it came off of this album, and he's mentioned that that's the perfect hip hop song. And then when you think about Illmatic, the reason why it was so significant was because of the production on
Yep.
this album. You know what I mean? He had an all-star production cast. He had Q-Tip, Big LES, Large Professor, Pete Rock, DJ Premier. Like, how in the world was he able to pull all these top producers on his on his premiere album? Like, it's unheard of in that particular time in hip hop. So I don't know how he was able to do it. There was so much buzz going around, and the sound of the music is really what resonates a lot with hip hop heads in general, and it's just great. It's a great masterpiece. It's a great piece of art. It's like looking at art on the wall, but you're listening to it instead of watching it. Looking at it, on the wall in a sense. So it's so dope.
And that's true. That's not to interrupt you, but I'm sure like a lot of people know the movie New Jack City, obviously.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But to me personally, this album, Illmatic, he put this more in a verbal, visual, like you just said. You could either resonate with it, or you could sit back and be like, oh my God, he's telling me something.
Right.
So, that's why I kind of bring up New Jack City, because, you know what I'm saying? He put it in a lyricism. He put it in a verbal. He was able to have you visualize it. And he put Queensbridge houses really on the map,
Agreed.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt, no doubt. So with all
That whole album, I'm sorry, it's just, to me, it did.
The
My husband,
foundation.
my husband put a question out there, and you said, did Illmatic
save New York hip hop.
save New York hip hop? I want to make sure I said it right. That's
Yeah,
why
yeah.
I stopped. And to me, I'll answer that question personally. I do think it did save New York hip hop, because
When did Biggie come out?
So Biggie came out the same year, but
but
he came out later. But the reason why I brought the question up to the group today. Shout out to Hip Hop Heads Unite, y'all. Work. That's our hip hop group out there. But the reason why we brought it up, because during that time before Illmatic dropped, between 1991 to 94, West Coast hip hop was really, really taking off. So Dr. Dre came out with the Chronic '92. Snoop Dogg came out a year later. Like, it was all this other genres of hip hop. And we had the subconscious hip hop. We had Tribe Called Quest. We had De La Soul. So Nas,
Questions from Q-Tip and them from New York, right?
yeah, they from New York, right? But my point is, there wasn't no like real reality rap during that time from New York.
Everything was more conscious and
More conscientious rap, exactly. So
I got you.
so when Nas drops Illmatic, everybody's like, "Yo, like, what in the world?" Like, what is
It
that?
shifted.
Yeah,
How people started to tell stories.
yeah, yeah. You know what I mean? Like, yo.
Tribe Called Quest at the time was dropping records like El Segundo and
Yeah, shout out to Tribe Called Quest. That's one of my favorite groups. Word up, man. Like,
yeah, shout out to them. Like, shout out to them for sure. They were making the fun hip hop. I can't say it. It was like storytelling, but it's like, dang, I'm so invested. Like, how you leave your wallet all the way out El Segundo? Like, how did you do that? Man, I gotta get them. Like, he was like, man, they got my rubbers, they got my jimmies, man. I gotta get it.
yeah,
exactly. So
But people loved it. You know what I mean? But at that time though, like, there was Onyx. You know what I mean? Onyx was out. Onyx was great. We had an episode about Onyx. So shout out to episode of Onyx. Y'all check that out. But Onyx was great. Onyx was rugged and raw, but they didn't really tell the story. It was like the lyrics weren't, you know what I mean? There's, like I said, there's levels in hip hop. When you got Illmatic coming out, it just took over. To me, it was New York hip hop's savior. I really do think that. A lot of people did not agree with that, and that's
Yeah.
okay. It's a matter of opinion. You know what I mean? It's a very subjective question. But Ladies, I've had a great time talking about
Same.
Illmatic, and this has been a great podcast. And I also want to leave the fans and the listeners and the followers with one note. And I want to mention One Love real quick, because One Love is my favorite song off the album, produced by Q-Tip of Tribe Called Quest. And on One Love, the very last verse of One Love, he is talking to a young kid that's going down the wrong path. And he's like, yo, man, you don't need to be doing that. You know what I mean? Here's my chain. Put it in his pocket. Told him, watch out for the jakes, watch out for the cops, take care of yourself. And if you think about that last verse in One Love, fast forward 4 years later in the movie Belly that Nas was in, with Nas, DMX, Method Man is in it. And if you think about that verse and then fast forward to that movie, the same thing happens in the movie. Nas on a park bench with a young 12-year-old, 13-year-old cat that's going down the wrong path, and he's telling him, trying to school him, like, yo, man, you don't need to be doing this, you know what I'm saying? So there's so many parallels to Illmatic. It is insane. It is insane. But so you guys definitely go out there, relook at Belly now. You'll probably have y'all thinking like, damn, yo, he right. Yo, like, damn, I gotta go back and watch Belly now. Like, that's what he was talking about. So we pay homage to Nas.
Like, don't judge me, but I tell everybody every time we talk about Belly, I'm like, I didn't get it. What was the movie? I didn't get it. But
so, it's not the best movie. I didn't say it was the best. Now,
no, it's not. But I'm just saying I didn't get it. It was like, well, what was the moral to the story? Like,
yeah, it is a little bit kind of all over the place. But now you got a reason to go watch it. Now go back and watch it when Nas on the park bench talking to the young shorty at the time, was like, yo, man, like, what you doing? What are you doing out here in these streets? And he was like, nah, the streets got me, yo. I can't turn back. And he was like, there's more for you. And that's the same thing he was talking about in the third verse of One Love. That's the reason why I chose that one as my favorite. But ladies, we gotta start wrapping things up. And how we've been wrapping things up in season 2 is with a hooded salute to Trayvon Martin. So we'll do a hooded salute, and we'll let our new guest, KSamone, from 107.9, Hot 107.9 Atlanta, Georgia. Who are you shouting out this week?
Who am I going to shout out this week? You know what? I want to shout out all of the teachers out here making a stand for their students, fighting on the behalf of the standardized testing, who are risking their jobs, risking their lives on the behalf of these students. I definitely want to shout them out. Teachers don't get the recognition that they deserve. They are definitely last on the totem pole. So I just want to make sure I recognize these teachers, because obviously they're not going to work for the check. So, let's just keep them in mind, keep their struggles in mind, and let's continue to root for them and push for them any way possible. So definitely shout out to the teachers.
No doubt. Thank you again for coming on. The Queen. Who are you shouting out this week, babe?
Actually, my shout outs are pretty simple. My shout out is to KSamone. Because before the video, she was very humble, and she still is humble, and she understands the reason for the platform and the reason what we're doing out of love. And for someone of her stature to say she wants to be on this platform, I'm very humbled. Yeah. And so my shout out goes to you, to everything you do, to how you got where you are, and still remain who you are, which is sometimes a lost art form as you go up the ladder. So that's my shout out, is to you, and just to the progression as we continue this journey, because the journey continues. But you are my shout out. Thank you.
And mine as well. KSamone, my shout out goes to you, Ma. Thank you so much. We have truly been blessed with your presence on the podcast today. And outside of that, I just want to give a shout out to hip hop, because without hip hop music, none of this would be possible. Shout out to real lyricism out there. People that listen to the lyrics, don't just hear it. There's a difference, and that's my shout out going to this week. Next week, we're going to be having and showcasing the late, great Tupac Shakur. So I cannot wait.
In on that one.
Okay. Yes, we will definitely be showcasing Tupac, the late, great Pac, one of my favorite hip hop artists. And what I would say, possibly the greatest hip hop artist of all time is Tupac Shakur. Possibly. We'll talk about it next week. So be closer to that.
You know this. I'm just gonna say.
We're gonna get into that next week.
Possibly, right?
We're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into that. We'll get into that. But shout out to you guys. Stay safe. Keep your mask on. And happy holidays. See you guys next week. All right. 100. KSamone.